In this lesson, we're going to take a closer look at Microsoft Forms. So again, I'm starting in Office 365, this kind of main landing page that we have when we first sign in, and look for the Microsoft Forms button that you'll see right here. So clicking on Forms will take you into Microsoft Forms. You'll see when mine loads that I will have quite a bit of forms that I've created over the past few years. And again, this is a web-only application, so there's no Forms application that you would install on your computer. So you would access Forms by going online into Office 365. Let's talk just real quick about some of the basic navigation that you might see when you first sign in. So first thing you see is the navigation along the top. So we have My Forms, and these are forms that I have created. You can see forms that people have created that they've shared with me to collaborate on and to help build, or as just they wanted to share it with me just to be able to view the responses that they've had. And then the other one is group forms. So if we had a form that we've created that was inside of, say, a Microsoft team, for example, you would see it listed here. So let's go back to My Forms, and this is where we're going to go to create our own form. Here you can see I have a couple different options. So I can do basically I can create a form or a survey, or I can do a quiz. For this example, let's pretend that I'm going to have a parent information night, and parents are coming into my classroom, or I want to send information out to my parents of my students to collect some information. So I'm going to create a parent form. So I'm going to click here and say New Form. And it will take me to kind of it will title my form whatever is in this box here. So right now it's untitled form. So I'm going to change this to Parent Night 2020. And if you want to give it a description, you can. It's optional. This is my parent form for 2020-2021. So here we go. I'm ready to start kind of building out the survey or the form that I want to have my parents be able to fill out. So I've got my form titled, got the information that's right here for my description, and I need to add some choices, right? So the first thing I'll do is click the button that says Add New, and then I get to pick from a different options here. So I have choice, text, rating, date, and if I click this down area, you'll see that I have some other options here. These are the most common ones. The first one that I'll select is text. So I want to know what is your name? And down here is the space that they would provide an answer to. Now, this box would allow a longer response or a larger window for them to submit an answer, but this is it doesn't require it, so I'm going to leave long answer off. The other option is required. So do you want the people taking the form to have to take this in order to submit this? And for this option, I would require this. Inside of Office 365, anytime you see these three dots that are right here, you'll see that there are more settings. We can talk a little bit more about these here in a second. But if I want to add a subtitle to this, if the question isn't clear enough, I can add a subtitle with more information. Restrictions as far as what can they enter or not enter, and then branching, which gets in a little bit more advanced as far as creating forms. But say one of the questions was, who is your teacher? And they select their teacher from a drop down, and depending on who they pick, they might get different questions in the form, and that's done by what they call branching, which we won't go super into for this one, but it's a nice option to have if you're making a more complicated form. So now that I got the name and I had it required, I'm going to put another one, and you can see that it thinks it's kind of it sees the form that I'm creating, and it might give me some different kind of surface some different options for me. I was actually going to ask what their email address was because I want to compile this, and it's nice that it already lists it for me. So I'm going to click that and leave that as a add selected. What is your email address? Now I do want to make this required as well, so I want to make sure that they can't submit it unless they have it entered. And you can go through and add more options. So let's do, instead of text, this time let's do a choice and say, are you available to volunteer? And you can even see it suggests options for us. So I'll say yes, I'll say no, and I won't leave maybe on there. And I'm also going to make sure that this question is required. So there's a couple different questions there. Let's add one more, and let's do another choice. And then this one I want to actually be a multiple answer. So instead of selecting one of these, a multiple answer will give you checkboxes. So I say, what time is best? What time is best to contact you? So we might say AM, PM, and we'll leave it at that so they can select AM and PM if needed. And I might actually, let's leave this one not required. So that way they don't have to actually answer this question to submit the form. So that is a really, really quick and basic form that I created just pretty fast. You can come in here and you can edit any one of these as needed. So say you've sent the form out and you realize there is a spelling mistake on something, you can come back to the form, click on it, change the wording, or change the spelling mistake, and the link stays the same. You don't need to send out an updated link for anybody. They'll just simply be able to come back to the form and continue working on it. Which is a nice feature to have. The other one is you can rearrange the order of these. So say I wanted to have, which way is the best way to contact you, as question number 3. So when I click on it, you have these up and down arrows here that I can move a question up or down. The other one that you might have saw when I was on here is I can duplicate a question or copy a question. So if it's something that I just want to change, maybe a wording or two, I can copy this and then edit as needed, so I don't have to constantly type the same thing over and over. Another option that you have, and this might be better for when if you wanted to create a quiz rather than a survey, is if I went to choice, you can see that I also have the ability to insert media here as a question as well. So if I wanted to add a video and then have them be able to view the video and then have a response, or if I wanted to post an image or a picture here and then have them be able to give me an answer or a response, you have the ability to do that as well, instead of just a typical text question. Let's do a quick preview. So at the top you see this preview button, so I'm going to click the preview and this is what it looks like. It will even show me what this question looks like on a mobile device, and that's what it would look like on a mobile. Let me click back. And the next one is the theme, right? So let's see what kind of themes we have available here. They got some different ones. Just depends on kind of how you want to set this up. A lot of different options when it comes to themes. You've got different colors down here. You can even customize your own theme. So it gives you some flexibility on how that form looks when users access it. The other one that we'll go to, let me go ahead and hide that now, is the share button. So now that I've got my form completed, I have to get that form out for people to actually take it, right? So if I click the share button, again, this is very familiar and similar to all the other sharing options we have, especially the Sway lesson we did. So here it says send and collect responses. And here are the different options you have. The first one is only people in my organization can respond. In this example where I was creating a form for parents to take, this would not be a very good option because parents don't have an Office 365 account to sign into to take my form. So what I'll do in this case is select anyone with this link can actually respond to this. And this is the link that it gives me. So I could do this a couple different ways now if I wanted my parents to be able to take this form. One, I know I have the question down here about what your email address is, but say I already had their email addresses, or if I had a class website or another avenue that I'm using already to communicate with my parents, I could take this link and I could copy it and I could put it there or email it out to my families, and they can click that link and submit the responses all online. Another option you see, I got these buttons that are down here, is this one's a neat one where it will give them a QR code. So in this example, say I'm having a open house or parents are coming through my room and I just want to collect some feedback and I create a form to do that. I can take this, I can download this picture, which will save it to my computer, and I can take that picture then, open it up, I could display this on the active panel in my classroom. I could print this out and just kind of tape it up to a wall in my classroom, and then parents would be able to walk through my classroom, pull their phone out, as long as they have an internet connection, pull their phone out with their camera, scan this, and take the form. Pretty quick and easy. Uh, so that is the kind of sharing options that we have here. There's two more sharing options that it's important for you, especially as an educator. The first one is a template. So say that instead of a form, let's say we built a quiz. And the only difference with a quiz is when you're creating these questions, you actually get to select which is the correct answer. So it will automatically score the quiz when a student submits it. So say I've built a really great kind of form or a assessment to use with my students through forms. And I want to share that with a colleague so they don't actually have to create it themselves, but you can come here to say, get a link to duplicate. And when you click this link, you copy this link here and you send it to a peer or a coworker. And when they click on it, what it will do is it will actually put a copy of the form or the quiz that you created, and it will put it in their Office 365 Forms account for them to then be able to use. So they would be able to collect their own responses, and it wouldn't have any impact on the form that you created. So this is good, especially if you're dividing content and creating content. You can share this and send this to other people, and they can duplicate that and be able to use it. The third one on here is to collaborate. So say we're building a maybe like an end of a unit kind of assessment, and there's a lot of content that we want to add, and I want some help with this. So if I click this link here and copy this link and send it to a colleague, it will go into that shared kind of that shared with me section that you saw in forms when we first came in, and that's where we are able to edit the form together. Once the form has been edited together, and if you share that form, it might be good at that point to kind of share it as a template so that you each have your own copy of the form, so that you're not getting your entire kind of all your classes combined into the kind of responses or the results. And speaking of responses and results, let's go back to forms and I'll show you what it looks like once you start getting responses. And here you can see there's my parent night 2020. There was no save button. Again, it kind of saves as I work. And then you can see at the bottom of all these, you can see 0 responses, right? So you can see I've got a lot of different forms. Like this one I don't really need anymore, so I can click these 3 dots and I can just delete it out of here, which is fine. I don't need that one. I don't need this one anymore. This would remove the form. It would remove your results, so please be sure that you don't need it before deleting it. And so let's go down and find, so you can see I've got some responses on this one. Let me look. So here's one I got 110 responses, and this was from Surface, Microsoft Surface devices. You can see that it is closed, and we'll talk about that option here in a second. But let me go in here and I'll show you. So the responses actually will appear just to the right of where your questions are. So here's my responses. You can see the average time to complete. that might be a little off. I don't think it took that long to complete the form. But as I scroll down, you can see the responses. Depending on the type of question you ask, you'll get a little graphic that you can hover over and see kind of the responses in real time right there. And this is in real time. So as people are submitting this, if you refresh this page, you'll see the responses coming in pretty quick. So here again, you can see the different responses. The other nice thing is once I have all this, I can continue to come back to forms to see the data that's here. The other option is I have this button here that says open in Excel. And when I click this button, open in Excel, what this does is it will take all of my data, it will save it to an Excel document that I can save onto my computer. And then I can use that data in Excel however I want to make reports or graphs or charts or whatever it happens to be. So it is a nice option to have to be able to kind of save that data. Let's jump back into that the parent night form that I had, because there's another setting that I wanted to show you. And again, when you see these 3 dots, it means that there are more options there. And where I want to take you is into the settings button. And here you can see who has the ability to take the form. So right now, because I had the share button, it says anyone with a link can respond. If you want to force people to sign in, you can also record their name because they're signing in with Office 365. We know who they are, and we can record that, right? We can say, okay, well, Adam Gardner, he took this, he submitted this response, right? Because we forced him to sign in to take it. That is also the way that you can limit it to one response per person. So if this was, say you wanted to do a vote, and you didn't want someone to come back and vote multiple times, you would select only people in your organization can respond. You probably would select record name. You don't have to select record name, but you could select one response per person. So you'd see that the data would look like it was submitted by anonymous, and it would not let that person submit it again because they had to sign in to take the survey or to do the vote. The other option, so my parent night, maybe I want to have it start it so you can build these ahead of time and have a start date and end date. You can also shuffle questions to randomize it, which is helpful in a more of a quiz kind of setting. And you can also customize a thank you. So after they submit the response, you can write a note to them. Hey, thank you for submitting. Looking forward to having a great school year this year. And the other one is you can also, if you choose to, you can also be notified via email every time a new response comes in. And that's your choice to do that there. So that's really the basics of forms. In this lesson, we want you to come into here into forms. You have a choice. You can create either just a generic form like I did, or you can create a sample quiz. And you'll take that link by clicking the share button. You will select anyone with a link can respond. You'll take this link here, and not these ones down here. You'll take this one here, copy this, and you're going to paste it into the discussion board for lesson number 6 back in Blackboard.